Hey, Craig. Good. How was the drive down? Good.
Recording in progress.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So, boy, the weather is, we were looking at the weather this morning and realized that our average temperature throughout the year is about 50. And my wife looked at me and said, she goes, where's that at today? This whole thing's bringing down the power curve. Morning, Alyssa. So I hate cold weather. I don't know if anybody knows that or not, but I hate it with a passion. I can't stand it. If I had my choice, I'd pick Virginia up and move it down along the equator and be very happy about that. But I'm not going to leave Virginia because I really do love this state. I'm originally from Tennessee, but I claim Virginia now, so I like it a lot. We have a lot of stuff to go over today. I've got a lot of talking to do today because right after this is our Ninja Book Club, so hang around for that. Be about 11:30. We'll get into that. A couple of housekeeping things real quick. We're still seeing buyer-broker agreements signed the day that you do your contract. When does buyer-broker agreements have to be signed and put into place? The moment you have a substantial conversation about real estate, when you start showing houses, when you start talking about houses, you have to get a buyer-broker assigned. Next week, Abby is going to talk to you guys about Brokerment. We've made some major upgrades to Brokerment. We've split it into the two different companies that it needs to be split into. We've updated the agent onboarding for that, and there's another aspect in Brokerment now called opportunities. And it really takes the pressure off of having to worry about when you have a contract and when you're getting under contract and when you do that. So basically, here's the way it's going to work, and we're going to start really kind of holding your feet to the fire in this in 2025. When you get a buyer, you're going to put them in Brokerment as an opportunity, and there'll be a checklist for that, which is going to have in there that your buyer broker has been signed and any disclosures and stuff. So we really need to start really kind of doing that. Hey, Rachel, making sure that we're getting that done. So she's going to talk to you about that next week. Brokerment is really going to really kind of help with a lot of that stuff. Plus, if you get into Brokerment, you already know that we have the Brokerment library there. It's got a lot of links, a lot of really good information. So it's a really good tool for us to have. If you don't know, we have started an accountability coaching for 2025. We have about 10 agents that are in the office signed up for that. I have room for about 20. So if you're not in the coaching program right now and you want to be, come see me. We'll sit down. This is by certainly no means mandatory. And if you get involved in it and you find out it's just a little too much and you're happy with where you're at, that's okay too. Just try, me and Craig, we sit down all the time and we talk about what can we do to provide more value to our clients? And our clients are you, the agents, right? Well, your family too, but you're still clients, right? So we want to always be providing value and things that you can use. Whether you use them or not, that's up to you, but we want to make sure that we always have this. So we're always improving and trying to make sure that you have the best tools that are available to you. So to that end, good segue into this. Yeah, Craig knows where I'm going. About 6 months ago, I told you guys we were going to run an experiment, and we ran two companies. We have a realtor company and a non-realtor company. The non-realtor company, I don't even have ownership of that. My wife owns that whole and in part by herself. I'm not listed as an owner at all because it would be a violation of the NAR regulations if I did. So we ran Sierra Interactive with one, and we ran KV Core with the other, and we ran them side by side so that we could figure out which one of these programs is the best for the agents. And I would love to say that we have a lot of data to go off of as to which one is the best, but the reality is nobody uses either one, right? So there's two people. I have Kendra, who uses KV Core every day, and she's killing it. And I have Rob, who uses Sierra pretty much every day. The rest of you, and it's not a bad thing. It's a tool. I'm not fussing at you. You use it or don't use it. It's there if you want to. But it's another tool that we want to make sure that you have if you're trying to upgrade your business. But here's what we have really found out, is that KV Core is by far a more superior product than Sierra. So to that end, and there's not going to be any work on anybody here, we are going to migrate Sierra to the KV Core platform, and we are going to set up, I say we, Abby and Robin are going to set up your individual profiles with your pictures, and we're going to move the information that you have on Sierra now over to KV Core so that it's already set up for you and done. How many people have their own domain name? Okay. Having your own domain name, we're going to make sure that we show you how to do a ghost or a stealth or just a flat out redirect. Here's what that means. I never want any agent to have what I call golden handcuffs or anything that ties you to anywhere you want to be. So as a independent contractor, you should always own your own stuff. Okay? And what do I mean by that? I mean, you should own your own email address. You should own your own domain name. So if you use a domain name that we give you, awayrealestate.com/Rachel McClain or whatever it is we set up for that, then if you leave, you lose all that marketing. But she has 757homegirl, right? .com. And if you typed in right now 757homegirl.com, it goes to awayrealestate.com/Rachel McClain. And that's what we call a redirect. Now, what's so nice about doing it that way is that no matter what Rachel does, no matter what platform she goes to, no matter what happens, all she has to do is change the redirect. And it's all in place, right? So none of her advertising, anything on her cards ever has to change. And so if you don't have that set up, see myself, Craig, or Abby, and we will help you get set up with it. Yes, Carrie?
Not all brokers do that. They're not. Yeah. A lot of the brokers are trying to keep you on the
Yes. Yes.
So just keep that in mind. That's very forward.
If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. Right? But a lot of brokers do. They come from this, look, as you guys know, I come from a mindset of abundance, not scarcity, right? So I feel like we probably, in my opinion, probably have the best value add of any brokerage around, particularly for what it costs to be here. And if people don't see that, then I want to help them transition to somewhere that they want to be in the most pleasant and nicest way. And I'm going to be honest, like, you know, I've been doing this brokerage thing for 17 years and people have left the company and I've just lost my mind over it, right? Because it took it very personal. I don't do that anymore. Somebody gets ready to leave the company, you never have to be scared. If you want to leave the company and you wanted to go somewhere else, come sit down and talk to me. I'll help you with that transition because I want the best for you. And if you don't think this company is the best for you and it's the best thing for you and your family, then you need to find out where is the best thing for you and your family. And since I've changed that philosophy, we've had a lot of people that have left and come back. So that says something right there. Yes, ma'am.
What is this?
No, you cannot leave.
What does this mean for anybody who has a business number through Sierra? Does that get transferred?
No, that you'll have to. You could either set up a new business number with KV Core, and I think it's included in there.
It is.
Yeah, so you'll get a number.
So, and if you have any questions about this, but that's going to happen within the next 30 days, right? But we'll get it all set up for you. Anybody upset about that? No, because nobody uses it. Me and Craig were talking about it. I'm like, Craig, because we can tell who logs in, who uses it, who doesn't. Like, Craig, let's take a look, see who's using it. We're like, well, the only person that's logged in the last 2 months has been Rob. So I don't think it's going to be that big a deal for people. So your name will still be the same. And anybody that's not at this meeting today, we're going to reach out and make a personal phone call then. All right. Talking about coaching. There is a conference going on first week of March, and it is the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Really the 5th and the 6th. The 4th is really for independent brokerages and brokers for independent brokers. So the 5th and 6th of March in Louisville, Kentucky, called Real Estate Distilled. We went last year. Craig, what did you think about it last year?
Lots of great learning points. The Sierra guys were there. Spent a lot of time with them, but now this year I'm going to go with everyone else.
It's a really good conference. If you're looking at increasing some knowledge and just kind of getting out of your own way, I've even got some referrals from people that I met at that conference. It might be a good conference to consider going to if you're planning on going to a conference this year. I'm actually one of the keynote speakers and actually in 2 other breakouts, so I'll be speaking a lot there. You guys hear me? Yeah, first week of March. What's that? No, you cannot go to that. So, speaking of which, so that brings us up to the book club, the Ninja Book Club, which is March 5th. I will be there. So Carrie Williams will be heading up that book club on March 5th. So that should be a really good time. She's been doing this actually longer than I have, so she'll bring some great insight to that. I can't read my own handwriting.
Shocker.
Oh, anybody still need a planner? Come get it. I'll bring it to you, girl. So that was the last planner I have until Friday, when we should have how many more? We got 5 more coming in on Friday. Just send her. They're $45, just a pass-through cost. We'll get that out to you. It's what it cost me to get them in. So we got 5 more coming in. If anybody else needs them, we'll get them. Even if you're not in the coaching program, I will tell you right now, if you are trying to follow that right there, the Ninja 9, that planner is absolutely invaluable. It will help you with your accountability. It will help you keep on track, and it will really keep you going. So that's an amazing thing. Did we order that other poster?
I know.
The Go Giver. Did we order that other poster? No problem. All right, next week we've got Sydney is going to be. Oh my gosh, she gets so nervous. Sydney's going to actually be presenting. She's going to be going over the 10-step Ninja buyer process. And she's going to have a whole presentation to show you guys really how that process goes through there. So please show up for that. It's going to be really, really good. If you've looked at her presentation that she has for the company presentation, we stole a lot of what she did. She's super creative. She's really got a good presentation, and I really want you guys to see that. Also, next week, Craig is going to be going over some contract stuff. We've gotten away from that a little bit, and I really want to get that back into what we're doing and getting back into some contract training. So we'll have some contract training next week. Craig will be more to come on that. And then, can't read my handwriting again, Brokerment. Abby is going to be going over Brokerment and some of the new things that are going on in Brokerment and how it's going to make it really, really nice. One of the things that I've always liked about Brokerment is like when you guys get a commission check, or yeah, bless you, whew, sound like somebody stepped on a mouse back there. When you get a commission check in, we send it into your account. We always send you an email. It has a breakdown of your entire commission. When I first got into real estate, they were like, "Oh, well, here's your portion of it," and that's all I got was a check. So I really like the fact that it breaks down where every single dime went, so you know where stuff is. So that's worked out fairly well. Any questions on any of that? What's the most important thing I talked about this morning that could cause you to lose your license? Buyer broker. When did buyer broker got to be done? Okay. So I'm going to start hammering on you guys a little bit, okay, because you got to get it done. I don't want to see any more buyer brokers being signed the day you wrote your contract, okay?
I think that'll be the next big issue down the road.
Oh, it will be.
I think that'll be the next item.
It will be, right? So just be careful with that. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is how many people have a limited liability company or an LLC set up. Beautiful. How many people have a business entity license to go along with that? How many people have had that long enough to file taxes with it? Okay, Craig, what did that do for your taxes?
Lowered overall, because when you don't do it that way, everything you earn, you have to pay taxes on at the end of the year. When you set up LLC, you can have only your paycheck, only what you take out of there. And this is the simplest version of it, of course, is what's taxed at your income rate. Everything else is taxed at a different lower rate. And say what you will about the U.S.'s tax code from hell, it is set up for businesses to make money.
It really is. And we're going to go over all that in detail. Rob, what did it do for you?
I'm going to find out this tax.
Carrie.
The microphone.
Oh. Yes, I'll get to that. Yes, I'll do that next time. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go over that in great detail today. So if you do not have an LLC set up, at the end of today's class, you will understand how, and then you can make an appointment with me, and I will sit down with you one-on-one. Everybody has the link to my calendar so that you can get on my calendar. I'll sit down with you one-on-one, and we'll set it all up. I did it for a gutter company yesterday. Okay. All right. So really what we're talking about is treating real estate like a business, like your business. So treat your business like a business. And Chuck Warren, one of my mentors, used to say that all the time. But he was talking about rentals, right? And rental, he said, treat your business like a business. And sometimes I don't think we really do that. We get these paychecks in and we think of them as paychecks, and they're not. They're income to your business is what they are. And paycheck is a different animal. It's a W-2 thing. We're going to talk about that. Oh, I have my clicker back today. All right. So 5 essential business building blocks that you need in order to get this set up. The first thing you need is an LLC, and probably the best way to set your LLC up is to treat it as a sub-S corporation, okay? Now, this is a sub-S status for tax purposes, and we'll get into that in a little bit. This structure protects your personal assets and simplifies taxes. See, when you have an LLC and you treat it as such, and you don't use your personal stuff out of it, it becomes what's called a corporate veil, okay? So it protects you personally from some liability of being sued, but if you use it for personal, then they can do what's called piercing the personal veil and come after you personally. So it has a layer of protection of you being sued. They can sue your company, and that doesn't make you necessarily personally liable, but one of those things. You're also going to need an operating agreement. Now, your operating agreement creates an operating agreement that outlines ownership, voting rights, signature authority, and it ensures clear governing of that governance. Hard word for me to say. What this means is this: if you guys have ever had somebody buy a property with an LLC in the LLC's name, like an investor, anybody ever had that done? So like I own 757 properties, right? And that's where I buy all my investments through. When I go to the title company to buy this property in the name of 757 property, who's going to own the property, right? The attorney is always going to ask me for my operating agreement, because you have to understand, just because you have an LLC and a certificate of an LLC, that doesn't say who the owner is, who can sign, who has signature authority. It doesn't tell any of that, right? Your operating agreement is what delineates all of that information. When you go to start your checking account, you're going to have an operating agreement so the bank understands who has signature authority over that account. Okay, that's your operating agreement. And we can show you how to set that up too. It's not a problem. Employer identification number. It's a big fancy word for a social security number for your business. It's how the government taxes and runs taxes and tracks your company and how it pays its taxes, okay? So your EIN is super important, because without an EIN, it all goes directly against your social security number. You don't want that. Then you need a business checking account. It establishes a separate business checking account to manage finances. Here's a really interesting thing about a business checking account. If somebody writes you a check to your business, did you know that you cannot cash it? It has to be deposited. And the reason it has to be deposited is because that's how Big Brother makes sure that they're getting all their money. Okay? And then your business entity license from DPOR. Now understand that you have a real estate license, and now your business, your LLC, must also have a real estate license. Okay? Very, very important. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Any questions over the 5 basic things that you're going to need to start a business entity license and have your own business as a real estate professional? Anybody questions on that? Yes, Cindy.
What would you, I guess, estimate the roundabout cost for setting up the majority of that?
Between $500 and $600 if you do it yourself. I think it's probably under $500 if you do it yourself. Probably $1,500 to $2,000 if you use an attorney. And you don't need an attorney to do this, quite frankly. All right. Creating your LLC. Legal services. You can engage a lawyer, or you can utilize services like Rocket Lawyer for legal assistance. What's really cool about Rocket Lawyer is you go in there, you get a 7-day free trial, right? Cancel at any time. And what happens is you go in, you go, I want to set up an LLC. And it'll say, okay, what state? And you go Virginia. And it'll say, okay, who's the owner? Who's this? Who's that? Who's the blah, blah, blah. It'll ask you a bunch of questions. And it'll say, do you want us to file with the State Corporation Commission, because it has to be filed with the State Corporation Commission. You say yes. It says, do you want us to get your EIN number for you? And you say yes. And then you pay $300-$400, whatever it is. They take care of all of it. They file all of it. And one of the questions they're going to ask you is, who do you want to be your registered agent? Right? And it will say, recommended Rocket Lawyer. Be your own registered agent. Registered agent is simply this: the person that all notices, notifications, and everything are sent to for the company. Your renewals and everything else are sent to your registered agent. So make yourself your own registered agent. Very, very important. Okay? So Rocket Lawyer is a great way to do this. And if you come to me to get this done, I'm going to set you down, and we're going to do it through Rocket Lawyer. Yep. Your name of your company. Now, let's talk about that. That's the next thing. Name availability. You got to put a little bit of thought into it, but I will tell you what I would incorporate, what I would do for my very first one is your name. Okay? Away Real Estate is a DBA, doing business as. Do anybody know the actual name of Away Real Estate? Kenneth A. Lettner Incorporated. Because I was taught to do what I'm teaching you right now very, very early on. So when I went to open the brokerage, right, because I had a DBA, I had a Kenneth A. Lettner Incorporated, that LLC, almost day one, right? The very first year I was in the business, I got that, right? So that company's been open in 19 years now, right? Well, what happened, and the reason that I was told to do it that way is what I want to talk to you about right now. When you get this structure set up this way, I no longer pay Mel a commission. I don't do it. I pay her company a commission. And if I'm going to pay her company a commission, who writes the contract? Does Mel write the contract, or does her company write the contract? Her company writes the contract, right? So, in the overall truth of it all, if your company is 757 Kiss My Ass, right? Then, and you don't have a DBA, because you can do it either way. You can name it, you can incorporate your name, or you can have a DBA as your name, right? When you write the contract, you have to write it as 757 Kiss My Ass. That's who's writing that contract. So, better way to do it is either incorporate your name as the name of the business, or call your business whatever you want to, and then get a DBA, and you can have more than one DBA for your company, right? Like I've got like 3 DBAs for one of the companies, right? Depending on where I'm advertising. You can have your DBA is your name, right? So you could have 757 Properties doing business as Craig Jones. Now, when you write the contract, just use your name, Craig Jones, because that's the actual name of the company. That's who I'm paying. Is that clear as mud?
Yeah, it's a different resolution mortgage, is what you see, right? But if you really look at our paperwork and you look at the note and everything that the mortgage company is, it's T2 Financial. Because that's
Right. Exactly. So
DBA for T2 Financial resolution mortgage. That's what we present ourselves as.
Yep. So when we get this set up and I'm no longer paying you and I'm paying your company, that means the contract has to be written in the company's name. So it's easier if you have a DBA of your name to write the contract. That makes sense, what I'm saying there? All right. So that's how you kind of simplify that. And it's so important because what you're getting ready to do is become a legitimate business. You have a company, and that company has how many employees? 1. You are the employee. So you take yourself from a sole proprietor to a W-2'd employee who owns the company. And we'll get into the benefits of that here. Okay, operating agreement. All right, we talked about that, right? So owner identification clearly defines the business owner and their role, right? Voting rights outlines voting power of each owner in the business decisions. Like if there's more than one person that owns it, or it's done by a managing member or whatever, if there's more than one person, so maybe your spouse has some ownership in that, which they can, right? Then you have voting rights, and it'll ask you who has 49%, 51%, is it 50-50, majority rules. All those questions go into your operating agreement so that if there's ever a discussion of how it gets done, there's no argument. It's delineated out here, and an attorney can look at it and go, okay, well, yes, this person has the authority to do X. And then signature authority specify who has the authority to bind business with contracts and legal agreements. See, you can have a managing member, you can have a manager, and in the operating agreement, a manager can have no ownership, but the agreement would say that the manager, in name, can sign for the company, and that's how those things kind of work. Does that make sense? So it's really, really important that you have an operating agreement. You can't open a business checking account without it because the bank's got to see who has signature authority over that company. All right, your EIN, your employer identification number. Obtaining EIN is your proper tax identification for your business. Like I said, it's a social security number for your business. You need it for your business checking account. That's your EIN. So the next step in all this building block thing is you need to get a business checking account. You're not going to use your personal checking account for this. It's got to be labeled a business checking account. A lot of different rules go into place, none that you have to worry about. The biggest one is you can't just go out and cash your check. It has to be deposited. It has to be tracked. Okay? But here's what you're going to need to open that. You're going to need a copy of your LLC paperwork, copy of your operating agreement, and a copy of your EIN paperwork. And Southern Bank, Casey Cudney is my personal banker. At Southern Bank, you can get a business checking account for $0, right? There's no charge for having a business checking account there. They limit the number of transactions, but most of you will not exceed those number of transactions doing it from the way you're doing it as running the business. Now, as a company here, because I run so much through it, I have to have that, and I have to have a treasury account and escrow accounts and everything else. So I have to have the paid version of it, which still isn't really that expensive, but it's kind of nice to have. So these are the things that you need to open up that business checking account. It's going to be very, very important to have. Yes.
Southern Bank, it's you have to have at least $800 in there.
Okay.
If not, it's like $8 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Southern Bank, minimum amount, $800, or it's $8 a month, which is still, my opinion, basically free. What's that?
Navy Federal.
Hate Navy Federal for a business checking account. Let me tell you why. You have no personal banker to talk to. I can pick up the phone and call Casey Cudney and go, hey, they've screwed my shit up. And she goes, hold on. She calls everybody and they handle it. You need a local representative to handle your business shit. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I had Navy Federal that lasted 8 months.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, that cheaper's not always better, right? My ability to pick the phone up or walk right down here to Lynn Haven and walk in there and go, and they know me, and they go, and I go, hey, blah, blah, blah. And they go, all right, we're on it. We'll fix it. Can't do that with Navy Federal. Every time you call in, you're going to be talking to somebody different. Casey knows everything about my account. Everything, right? And they'll give you a personal banker, and they'll know everything about your account. When you call them, they'll be able to handle it. I'm just, nobody from Navy Federal is ever going to take you out to lunch to discuss how they can save you money.
I have one more thing. If you go into Southern Bank and say, Kenny sent me, get this man a coffee, here, come in right away. I swear to God that happened.
And the longer in your business, you won't realize how important those relationships really are.
They're hugely
You just
important.
don't get those with a non-local bank.
And there's a branch right here on Lynn Haven.
Look at Town Bank too.
What's that?
I was gonna look at Town Bank also.
Yep, Town Bank, they will charge you out the wazoo. Just saying. Southern Bank, yeah. Because I've been with Union Atlantic, I've been with Town, I've been with all of them, right? But when I landed on Southern Bank, I've never been treated. Southern Bank is a local North Carolina smaller bank, and Southern Bank's a very conservative bank. They've been in business for a long time, and they're never going to go out of business because they're very conservative about what they do. As a matter of fact, having your accounts with them, if you ever decide you wanted a small business loan or if you wanted a commercial loan, they are the #1 bank for doing owner-occupant commercial loans, right? And let me tell you something. They don't base whether they're going to give you a loan solely on your credit report. They base it on the relationship that they have with you and how much trust your individual banker has with you. You could go in there and not look that great on paper, and if you have a good relationship with your banker at Southern Bank, he'll go to them and go, no, this is a good risk, and they'll take that risk on you. The way banking used to be, built on a relationship, not necessarily on everything else. So use whoever you want to. I'm telling you, Southern Bank. And if you have a problem with Southern Bank,
Get something personal, just something you have a personal relationship.
yeah, well, here's the other thing too. If you have a problem with Southern Bank and you bring it to me, I could probably make a phone call and have it fixed very quickly. I don't have that ability with any of the others. So there's that. All right, questions on that? All right. I love having this little thing. I have all the power. Like Harry Potter with my little magic wand. All right. I did, right? I need some round glasses up here. All right.
Give me a Sharpie.
Business entity license and payroll. This is where kind of the rubber meets the road. All that other stuff is work to get there. This is why we're doing it. So your real estate license, obtain a business entity license from DPOR. And our staff can help you with that, okay? But that gives you that second license. So you would actually wind up having 2 real estate licenses, one for your business, and then your personal license hangs right behind that, okay? That's super, super important. And then payroll and W-2 employment. Okay, so here's what happens. You have a business. Your business makes money. Your business hires you as a real estate agent to work for that business, okay? And you become a W-2 employee. This is the important thing. So when we look at the tax benefits, hold on, here we go. As a sole proprietor, right, which is what most of you are, you're going to pay 30% on your net income. I'll give you an example. If you make $100,000 in real estate and you have $20,000 in deductions, right, legitimate business deductions, then you have a taxable income of $80,000. And you're going to pay 30% on that because every bit of it is payroll. And on a self-employed person pays 15% employer part and 15% employee part. So when you're a W-2 person, when you get your paycheck every month, you see a minimum of 15% taken out. What you don't see is the 15% that your boss had to pay on everything that he paid you. That's 30%, okay? Well, you are the boss and you are the employee, so you're going to pay both, okay? So you're going to pay your part as an employee, as a sole proprietor, and you're going to pay the employer's part, which is 15%. That's where that 30% comes from. Everybody clear on that? Just an arbitrary number that, say you made $100,000, say you had $100,000 in, say you made $500,000 in commission income. Whatever your income is for the year, right? Your gross income. So we'll talk about gross and net. Gross is the overall dollar amount. Net is what you made after all your deductions and business expenses and things of that nature. $100,000 gross, $20,000 in deduction gives you an $80,000 net. And that's what you're going to pay 30% on, right? So what's 30% of 80 grand? Somebody calculate that. $24,000. Okay, let's look at it, me telling you to set it up the way I told you to set it up, okay? First thing you need to know about that is that the tax benefits of an LLC are, number one, the tax code says you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. As a sub-S, you need to pay yourself a reasonable salary, right? Because you are a what? An employee, and employees get paid on salary, not on commission. Payroll taxes, 30% of your salary will be taxed for payroll. And then owner's draw, anything above your salary, right, will be taxed at whatever your tax rate that you're currently in, which for most of you probably be around 19 to 21%. So let's go back to this here, okay? Now, as an LLC, let's take that same $100,000, okay? 20% deduction, leaving $80,000 of net income. So, let me see, reasonable salary, $30,000 a year. So now somebody give me what is 20% of $30,000 or 30% of $30,000? $9,000. Okay. Versus what? 24. The other $50,000 comes to you as what's called an owner's draw, comes over on a Schedule K, right? And comes over as personal income, but it's not subject to payroll tax. Okay, so it's only taxed at whatever your current tax bracket is. So let's say that's 20%. What's 20% of 50K? $10,000. So you just went from paying $24,000 to paying 19. So just on that amount, you've saved what, $6,000, $5,000? How many people would like an extra $5,000 in their account? That's why an LLC treated as a sub S is so much better than having a sole proprietorship where everything is payroll taxed. That's the real key here to saving some money on your taxes. Not to mention the benefit of having that corporate veil so they don't sue you personally. Does that make sense why we do it this way? I've been doing it this way for 19 years and it has worked very, very well. It has saved me a lot of money. Questions? Set up a time, get on my calendar. If you want to get this done, it's not mandatory, but if you want to get this done, want to save some money, it's really important. I tell this, yes.
So you're managing your own payroll essentially, right?
No, I have an accounting firm that does that.
So you have somebody doing it.
Yeah. Doing it yourself? Yep.
Can you do it yourself?
Yes. Yes.
And then if you do it yourself, like if you want to set up like a health savings account or something to that effect, you would do it with
So here's what I'm going to suggest. Once you open a business, okay, you are probably no longer qualified to do your own taxes. Okay? A 1040EZ, you're qualified to do that. But now we're talking about a business return. And it is an entirely different animal because you take your business returns and that all gets done, and then whatever comes over, then that comes over to your personal taxes, and you can do those yourself if you want to, but I would not suggest you do your own business taxes.
If you ever tried to buy a house,
Oh.
usually you need a CPA to certify certain things when you're self-employed. So you're doing them on your own, and you're going to have to hire someone else to review your taxes to be able to certify.
It's going to cost you more in the long run.
Mel, answer your question. You can set a 401k, you can set an HSA, all those normal employee benefits. You can set them up. The good news is now in the 21st century, a lot of these companies are caught up, so they actually have, I'm going to call it a co-op for less better word.
Yep.
Where you can get a healthcare set up with someone else. You have to have 30 employees to get a 401k. You don't have 30 employees to get a health plan set up. There are all kinds of options.
Yeah, tons of options out there for sure.
I got my company. I got 401k set up. I rolled all my stuff into it.
I think what Craig is saying is very, very valid. You can do all of those things. More importantly, so here's how it works. So you have your business income and you certify all of your deductions for the year, payroll for the year. Now, you should be doing it quarterly, making quarterly payments for payroll taxes and one thing or another. You need to get with a CPA to get that figured out. However, for a very long time, I didn't do any of that shit. I waited until the very end of the year. And at the end of the year, I looked at my overall picture. Now, I got some penalties and a few fines for doing it this way, no doubt. But what I did was at the end of the year, I looked at it and I said, okay, this is what I made. These were my deductions. This was my taxable income. How much of my taxable income do I want to make as salary? And at the end of the year, I decided, okay, I'm going to make $30,000 salary. Then I was able to decide what that tax picture looked like. I don't really like that. I'm going to make my salary $25,000. I'm going to make my salary $25,000. I'm going to make my salary $40,000. Okay? Your W-2 income is going to be the number one indicator for you getting loans. Okay? They can still look at the owner's draws, but it doesn't hold as much weight as like a W-2 does. So you have to be careful. If you write off everything, I'm going to write off everything. I'm going to show my income as zero. You won't be able to buy a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, okay? Because you're not showing income. Now, did you get to use all that money? Absolutely. You're like, man, I used $100,000. That's great. But you showed it all as a write-off, right? So if you're showing it all as a write-off, then you can't show income, therefore you can't qualify. So you got to be careful with that, all right? You got to be careful with that. That's all I'm going to say on that. That makes sense? But this is a much, much better way. It'll save you some money in taxes, and it allows you to have more control over the income that's coming into you. Questions? This is how billionaires pay no taxes, right? Because they show no income to themselves. Well, they show no income to themselves as payroll. But all that money does come over as personal income, and then it gets reinvested, and they have Fred Slater. He used to say this all the time, and I loved it. He goes, I'm going to live and enjoy a 32% tax bracket, but I'm going to pay in a 21% tax bracket, right? And that's how you kind of have to look at it. Questions on that, guys? It's really important. If you guys want to get into that setup, then we will absolutely roll into that. We'll help you get on my calendar, and we'll get that set up for you guys. Okay. Anybody have anything they would like to share today? Anything positive happened this week? Carrie. Hold on.
You talked about not piercing the corporate veil, but also too, I think it's important to, if you have rental property, everything should be in a separate LLC. Like, personally, I think even though you are a real estate agent or
I
a
don't
realtor,
put any of my investment properties in the company name that I'm doing all this with. I have a different LLC for my investment properties,
Yeah.
and I have a different LLC for different things. So that's
Yeah.
a really good point.
Because that way each individual thing is only that individual thing's liability. So once you incorporate everything under one, because it sounds simple and you don't want to have to deal with multiple tax returns, someone trips and falls on your rental property step, breaks their neck, your whole business is liable.
Anybody want to guess how many LLCs I have currently running? No, 7.
Yeah.
Right. At one point, I had 13.
When you had your
When I had the title company
and
and I had
training.
and Black Tie Properties and the Salsa Company, and yeah. Crazy. Oh, the Salsa Company, yeah.
Oh yeah. Mateo's has come close, but
The what?
Mateo's has come close, but
I had, so if anybody wants to know what we're talking about, I was setting out, and I'll tell you this story real quick. Setting out in my backyard with some friends, and we were arguing about where salsa came from. And, you know, everybody was like, well, it came from Spain, came from Mexico, blah, blah, blah. So we did a little Google search on there, and Google revealed that there was a Franciscan friar by the name of Alonso de Molina who was translating an Aztec dictionary. And one of the terms that he came up with was salsa. And salsa was described as tomatoes and spices and chilies all cooked down and served on venison and fish and those types of things. So I took that idea and made a salsa. I used tomatoes and spices and habaneros, and I made this salsa and brought it to my buddies, and the buddies took a bunch of it to work with them, and they come back and they went, hey man, we got like 30 people want to place orders. I'm like, I'm not going to jail for any of you idiots. So it took me about 30 days. I got it FDA approved and started manufacturing and canning it. And that February of that year, 2014, you can look it up, there was a food and beverage expo in the state of Virginia. It happens every 2 years. So I decided to go to the food and beverage expo. I entered into that. There was 1,600 entries. There was only 3 categories, and there was no first, second, and third place in the categories. There was a winner in each one. Best overall food product, best food drink, and best food product. Best overall drink, and then food. And out of 1,600 entries, I won the best new food product in the state of Virginia. And then it moved forward, and I was in all of the Whole Foods in the Mid-Atlantic and in Fresh Market and a couple others all through the Mid-Atlantic. Anyways, had a good distribution system going, and it was taking up too much of my time. So a guy comes to me and he goes, hey, he says, I'm going to sell you my barbecue sauce because I can't get it off the ground. I'm like, I don't want to buy that shit. I'm trying to do real estate. But I'll sell you the salsa company. And he went, all right. And I went, now, of course, I was being a little smart ass, right? I wrote that number down on a piece of paper and I slid it across the table. And he went, okay. And I went, that's cash. And he went, all right. Sold him the company. Lock, stock, and barrel. Transferred it over to him.
Yeah, long story short, I can't get the damn salsa anymore.
Well, about 9 months later, he comes to me and he goes, hey, I'm not doing real well with this. You want to buy it back? So I bought it back for half of what I sold it to him. Built it back up and sold it again. But it's still being sold in Northern Virginia.
Great.
Somewhere in Northern Virginia. It's called, you can look it up. It's on Facebook. It's called Molina Salsa. There's a little picture of Alonzo Di Molina on the jar, Franciscan friar. So anyways. So yeah. So yeah, that was my foray into the food service world. And here's what I found out. You got to sell a lot of jars of salsa to make money, right? You're making about $2 a jar. So, all right, guys, I don't have anything else for you. We've got the ninja class at 11:30. That's correct.
If anyone has anything they want me to teach on contract training next week, let me know. Otherwise, I'll come with something on my own.
If you're in the coaching program, or if you're not in the coaching program, if you want to sit down and go over your business plan for the year, I hope that everybody has taken the time to do your pre-planning business package and your 2025 business planning package. There's videos on our YouTube channel that'll help you get to that, and then we can sit down and go over it. And as always, guys, this is a great way. Don't forget to track your Ford conversations. They are an amazing way to figure out what's going on in your life and what's going on with people. I'm really looking forward to what the rest of this year holds. I'm really looking forward to next week with Sydney doing a 10-step buyer process, which falls in line with the Ninja. We're also going to be doing the 16-step seller process and the listing aspect for that. I really want to get that out there to you guys. But honestly, that's just icing on the cake. If you guys can get the basics down of that Ninja 9 with your gratitude, showing up, standing on your agenda, writing 2 personal notes, focusing on your hot list and your warm list, doing your customer service calls, doing your real estate reviews, and conducting your interviews and reviewing your database weekly, you'll have more business than you can ever shake a stick at. Right? You just need to learn how to have a really proper Ford conversation. Ford conversations are as important as you can possibly be. Craig did an open house. I was talking to him, and I think I told this to somebody the other day. When he did that open house, he said, a lot of people would consider the open house a failure because they didn't really have anybody that was trying to buy the house or anything. He said, but I had 20 conversations, good Ford conversation. I was able to add those people into my database because of the conversations that we had. And that is the key right there. Having those conversations with those people, making those connections, and and then every time you meet somebody new, first thing you should do is add them to what? 8x8, right? And I talk about this all the time. I use it. Craig uses it. Cloze, CLOZE, which is a little database, about $40 a month. It's cheap, but it has a Ninja overlay. And as soon as I meet somebody new and I put them in there and then I sign that 8x8, it reminds me every morning that I need to do X this week for that person or this person or that person. And what that 8x8 does is designed to help solidify a relationship or a new relationship and get you to know that person better. It doesn't have to be about real estate. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is when we get somebody new that we meet and we think that they might be a real estate person, then what we do is we try to shove a piece of property down their throat and one thing or another. Well, why not send them a note? Says, hey, it was nice talking to you. Why not send them a map of all the great things to do in Virginia Beach if they're new to the area? Why not send them things that are of value and that creates a relationship, not just a transactional type person? I don't want them to look at you just as a real estate person. I want you to them to look at you as a human being who cares about adding value to their life and helping them solve a problem that they need. That's what I want you to do. That's what that 8x8 is really designed to do. So, questions on any of that? All right, guys, let's go get them. As I always say, flow fixes everything. Get out there and sell a house.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, guys.